Loading
Hello,
up.
hello, 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 hello. Oh, I can't. I've forgotten how to use this thing. Right. How do I get everyone's
You.
faces? Hello, hello.
Let's get going. Hello and welcome to the Sid City Social Club for Sunday, January 7th. Happy New Year. We're glad you guys are here. I'm Mel from sidcity.net. You guys know Sid, of course. Um, this is Phoebe. She's going to
Oh,
be coming and going. I'm sure she's the cat who has to know what's happening. So, okay, I'm going to throw it over to Sid here for just a minute because the kitten is biting my arm.
oh, good. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Belatedly so. I have been away for years, it feels like, because I haven't said hi for ages. I think I've shot 2 series since I last saw you. Doing really well. I have been on strike since July, so we had to dig into our savings a little this year. But it's been great. It's been terrific anyway, just to be home, and which is kind of weird straight after COVID, where I've been home for ages. But I miss it when I'm away now, much more than I used to. But really special today because my son Django has agreed to come on the Zoom and say hi. And it's really fantastic to see you, Django, because I haven't seen you since September or July or something like that, or August. I can't remember when it was, but we were in the Czech Republic together. And he's a beautiful musician. He's made some astonishing music, and a song that he released a couple of weeks ago called Mendota is available online, and maybe some of you have had a chance to listen to it. It is just the very tip of the iceberg because I just got an album from you, and we should listen to it. If that anyone who's got a problem, Django, would you just say the band's name and how the song's supposed to be said, and just introduce it for us?
Hello, everyone, and good to speak to you again, Daddy. It's nice to see you after the Czech Republic, which is our super random meetup spot after a couple of months of not seeing each other.
I love hearing you say "daddy." So
Uh,
that makes me happy.
but yeah, so my past year, I'd say really 2 years, were spent discovering that I really liked to make music, to write and play guitar and to sing. And sometimes my girlfriend comes and sings with me, which is a real treat. And so over a year, we ended up making a full album, and it comes out in 4 days now. Our the band name is Djoon Am, spelled DJOON space AM, which is kind of like Farsi for darling, but with a D in front of it because I'm Django. Uh, the first single we released a couple weeks back is called Mendota, which was really just written on a road trip between LA, where I live, and the Bay Area, where her and her family live. And there was a random town called Mendota, and we stopped to use the restroom somewhere, and I basically wrote a song about our pit stop. And it all came together very quickly. But yeah.
Okay. I really would never have guessed that this was about stopping at a gas
Oh, it's
station.
obvious. He's taking a pee.
It does turn into something
Absolutely.
else. It turns into something else quite quickly.
I
Uh,
knew that, Mal. I could tell.
Well, you have the
yes.
inside track,
No,
Sid.
I
So,
didn't know at all. I had no idea.
yeah.
okay, so we are going to listen to this, and then if you've got questions, you will be able to ask them afterwards. So let's go.
That was really, really gorgeous, Django. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you. I
for the
mean,
nice comments. Thank you, everyone.
astonishing that, a couple of years ago you were someone else, and today you are someone else. I mean, you're going to be someone else every day of your life, probably.
Yeah.
But it's what I've listened to your album twice that you sent me, and this is a treat for everybody else who likes music, this kind of music particularly. What I love about it, and I think I'm loving about listening to your whole album, is that, I mean, I get the sense that it's like the comfort of singing to myself. When
Mm.
you know, when you sing to yourself or when someone rocks you to sleep. But in that is a bunch of complexity, which I'm kind of astonished by, because I've been listening to music for a long time and you haven't. And it's amazing how much complexity you've got into it. I mean, there are moments in some songs like puzzles where you drift into kind of classical Japanese sounds, and
Yeah.
then you're kind of you've got a song called Ozone where it's awkward and just trying to get out of your body, and then the orchestra or the rest of the music helps you, you know, kind of soothes you, and you kind of begin to understand. So you've got this lovely dialogue in your music with your own music, which is the best music has that quality, I think. You know, every concerto, the piano will talk to the orchestra and the orchestra will talk back to the piano. And is there, how did you get all this complexity? Where is it because you've been hanging with this crew in LA, all of these young musicians, and you're inspired by them, or where is it coming from? I mean, the moments of Johnny Cash as well in your album, which is like,
That's very kind. Yeah, I think what racks me with anxiety, especially in this period where, it's submitted, but it's not being shared with people yet, talking about like the full album. I can listen back to it and I can go, oh my God, I'm singing so quietly. People want to hear me scream, or people want to hear like I keep having a flashback to I don't know if you guys know, I'm a big Radiohead fan, and in their first album, Pablo Honey, they have a song, Stop Whispering, Start Shouting. And so I look at that and I go, oh man, Tom figured it out. He stopped whispering and started just screaming and wailing. And I didn't get that lesson in time for this album to be made. But it was made in my apartment, in my room.
you start with a tune? Do you start anywhere habitually, or do you just end up sort of organically coming to it one way or the other? It doesn't really.
This last year, I've filled my notes app and my voice memos app with 2,000, subsequently, like 2,000 voice memos and 2,000 notes of just ideas. So I think it's just writing and writing and writing and playing and playing and playing. And then sometimes the two just fit together, and more often than not, they don't. But when they were able to, I was like, cool, that's a song.
I know. I think going back to your volume, the thing about your volume, which seems to me kind of a relatively cosmetic thing.
Yes.
There's a ton of emotion in your voice, even at that low level. And when I said it's like, your grandma singing you to sleep, it does elicit a kind of comfort from my ear, because I don't mind hearing someone speak quietly. It actually soothes me in real life. And
Yeah.
especially, if you get into a fight with someone, if you can all take down your voice, the register of your voices, then it's a discussion. And I think that the discursive nature of your songs is really, really, Mel said pretty before we started the Zoom. And pretty is correct. It's a really pretty sound. But there are a bunch of people here who are also excellent musicians. And well, not a bunch, that might be an exaggeration, but there's a few.
I'm sure many. Yeah.
How do you go? Because I think one of the things that stopped you have done this, by the way, all by yourself, at least as far as I'm concerned. I have had no hand in it. I'm not qualified. I'm not a musician. I don't know any musicians. Couldn't help you if I tried.
Mm-hmm.
How would you start? How do you begin? Where did the process of getting? I hear wind instruments which definitely don't sound computerized to me. It sounds like you had someone playing a clarinet or a flute or something at one point.
Yeah, I met beautifully, luckily, fortunately, I met this concert level clarinet player, and so he's featured on two or
Two
three
songs.
songs
Yeah.
on the album. Yeah, they're it's not just me. I will attribute a lot again to my partner, my girlfriend, because my taste is really eclectic, and like my instinct is to go wild. And then when I share it with her, or with, I have a writing partner as well, Ian. So when we talk, I'm able to kind of like hear it from a different point of view and go, oh, okay, that's pretty out there. Maybe I can just change this one element a little bit, and it can be more soothing or more comforting. Or
You sang me a few songs in Prague at sunset on our balcony outside on the top floor of some building,
what a
and
special moment.
it was really very beautiful. And Anna was there too, your girlfriend, if you don't mind me saying her name.
Not at all.
And she, your voices just work together so beautifully. Again, you need to get the album to hear at least 2 or 3 songs with where Django is in duet, and it's a really good combination because she's got a very bell-like tone. I mean, I like a really pure bing. There's that not she can't mute it as much as you do.
Well put. Yeah.
Coming from that abdominal area.
She's also much more trained. Like she comes from being in her a cappella groups in college and singing from when she was a kid, whereas I kind of woke up and said, "Oh, I really need to make music. I need to figure out how to sing."
It works really well with you figuring out how to sing for us, which is, I think, one of the most wonderful gifts, because everybody is already the finished product, and you're saying things like, "I've just learned something that I'd like to get done tomorrow, and I didn't learn it in time, but next album maybe I will." And that sort of stuff is really, I mean, that reminds me of when I started out as an actor, because I learned in front of my audience. I was falling flat on my face in front of everybody, and you don't fall flat on your face. You float. You do great. You're doing a beautiful job.
That's very kind of you.
Inspired by, I mean, you obviously start with the poetry. We've got some poets here too, and you obviously start with your poetry, and then you work your way through the maze of words and ideas and thoughts and feelings, and then you decide maybe you want to put something to music, and you do just music. Sometimes one of the numbers on your album is just a music track. There's no voice, at least unaccompanied. Do you get inspiration? Do you find you force it when you like haven't got enough to chew on, or does it just keep coming to you? Because I'm wondering now, but you've got a second album you're gonna have to start writing, and what are you gonna do?
I'm half through, actually. Well, I won't say that. That's pretty ambitious. I have 6 songs down for the next one, but I who knows what's going to come of them, or where they're going to take me, or what kind of journey it'll be to finish them. But
have you played live? Do you play live in front of
we are rehearsing rigorously right now. I have a drummer and a synth player, and I play guitar, and we meet up once or twice a week for 3 or 4 hours, and we're planning on this month maybe doing a live video take of 3 of our songs to put online. From there, we're going to start gigging around LA, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of jump on a supporting tour or something this year as well.
Oh, that is just great. And do you find that do you have to pay these guys? Because I'm asking partly because I want to encourage other people who would like to become a musician, that you can just start from a standing start like you did, like
seriously
2 years ago, without having really even picked up a guitar in your life. And you're now orchestrating really complex into really multi-layered, beautiful work. And you just need a couple of friends. You don't have to pay them to do gigging.
Yeah.
As long as you're buddies.
I'd say if you have, I'll say 3 hours a day to practice, and the commitment, you can get pretty far.
Heartening to see from a family member's point of view. It's a wonderful thing to see that the engagement, the wholehearted commitment to this, and the love that comes along with it, which shines out of you during your songs, as well as when you're not singing right now.
Well, you also say that you couldn't do anything, you couldn't help me, but your support and your words, and you listening to my songs as they started rough and got a little better and a little better. And
I remember when you first gave me, do you remember when you first gave me a couple of songs? I was like,
You
Okay.
got me my singing coach.
I got you a singing coach, which you could have taken offense at. You could have taken offense at. But I remember diplomatically saying to you, were you like out of tune on purpose at that little bit? Because it has a really weird, interesting effect. I don't know if you meant it,
I
but
didn't know that you had to tune guitars for a while, but I knew that I wanted to make music.
And you know what? You do it now. You still do it, but you do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And you did it in a song called Ozone, your second
Yes.
song. And you start off hitting notes all, I mean, like you're jumping keys when you don't need to.
It's
And
awkward.
I
It's
love
very
that.
well put.
I
Awkward.
love that. You earned that. And I think people really will enjoy that journey with you. I think they'll enjoy, and they'll take a really enormous amount of encouragement for the fact that it doesn't matter when you start. It doesn't matter what age you are, who you are, what you're doing, as long as you can afford $100 guitar that we bought down the road here. When that was pretty wasn't expensive. It wasn't the cheapest. There was one for, what was it, 59 or something. We didn't go with that one.
This was all recorded on a $60 guitar that often had a missing string, and a singular mic, cheap $80 mic, and my laptop. That's all you need.
That's really, really cool. That's really
Yeah.
good. Is there some form of music that you always switch on, that you always makes you Django? You know, it just takes you straight to you.
It's a great question. My most played song last year was Mayonnaise. I saw someone talk about the Smashing Pumpkins, Mayonnaise by the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
A lot of the music, I'll say, give you more credit. It is due. A lot of the songs, you gave me an iPod when I was very little, and it had so many albums on it and so many songs that I didn't realize that you had to pay money to get albums. So I was just I'd keep adding to the collection and be like, $9.99. I don't know what that means. And then years later, you were like, someone spent all this money on iTunes.
$1,000 on my
Yeah, you were
life.
trying not to blame me, but we both knew. I think by that point, shame had been introduced to my life. So
it was worth it. It was worth it.
all the tunes there. Coldplay, who's another kind of Radiohead
Yeah, Radiohead Light
based band. Yeah. There's a lot of new artists today. There's one guy named Ghost Orchard, who I think is really cool. I've featured them on my playlist. Just people being innovative and heartfelt and vulnerable. That's usually what means the most to me.
Yeah. I should say that if anybody else has a question, because it's not open mic, but please feel free to hold up your hand. And when there's a pause, Mel will get to you. I'm sure Django can handle a question from one or two of you if you want to ask anything. It's easy for me because I know this guy.
Mm-hmm. Rob Levy had a question.
Yeah.
Very quiet back there.
So it has a whole lot of different, like, sort of musical aesthetics going on. This is more technical. How many guitars did you use, like you specifically, or whatever? Because there's the steel guitar, and then there's, I think, 2 or 3 other types of guitars. So I'm wondering whether that was just you had different musicians play that, or did you switch guitars as you were doing that? So I'm just sort of curious about that.
That's a very cool question. Yeah, it was actually mostly like on Logic and on the digital audio workspaces plugins. So it'd be the same guitar, but just treated really differently. Because a lot of what made me feel comfortable is that I used to work as like an assistant video editor. So I was very comfortable using DAW software. Yeah, thank you. So mixing stuff, and it kind of be a little annoying for my old computer, but I'd have like 13 different plugins on an acoustic guitar, and I wouldn't know how they all kind of got there, but it would make that pedal steel sound. Or even a lot of the album that comes out soon sounds like it has violins through it, but that is just a heavily delayed acoustic guitar, and so I feel like for me a lot of the fun is in the edit and actually in the DAW, in the software.
So when you do that live, you're gonna have to have a pedal bar like Muse or one of those bands who use a pedal bar to keep changing up whatever they need to change up for queuing up sounds. Is that the way it would go?
Yeah, we're looking at the right pedals to get, and also making some minor adaptations. And we have a friend in the family, and they're wonderful string players. And
yeah, they're amazing. My goodness, the whole family is a quintet of brilliant musicians.
yes, I'm hoping that maybe someday some of them can come through, or other wonderful musicians can come in and reinterpret some of the parts, because the beauty and the challenge of doing it in the software is that there's some clipping sounds every once in a while, or a little fudged up moment, and it makes it unique, but also just leaves a lot of room for making a live show that much cleaner and more precise.
Yeah,
there's tons of plans now that the seed is kind of planted. It's like, ooh, all these people I can play with and write with, and I love working with other people. It's very fun.
That's so healthy. That's the way to go. It's other people make the three-dimensional picture. Do you get moments when you're in the room with someone and you're like, I really don't like this, and how do you say that?
Yeah, well, that's been a huge part of the practice, is figuring out what I do and don't like, and learning to not judge ideas before they come out, because something may sound, an idea spoken is like, oof, no, what are you doing? And then in practice, it's the most amazing thing, and you could have never otherwise made it happen. I do have to kind of sometimes be like, no, I think we could do another different, unique version of what you're doing. I'll maybe highlight the things that work, and not spend too much time focused on the things that don't work, and just say, I think we can iron it out, focusing more prevalently on this one thing that I think is really gelling.
And have you had any reviews of anything?
No.
I'm concerned about the juxtaposition of onlineness, the world of onlineness, which is kind of a constant spew of reviews from millions and millions of people. Do you have a healthy way of negotiating your social work, your online social existence? How do you do that? Because you're part of a generation where you've really only known it as the main form of communication around the world.
I'm getting used to being like, I guess, part of it, part of the music. Me personally, as part of the music, I liked having some separation, and that's been what making the album has been. It's just been me in my room, and no one else is really involved. And the reviews have been from my mom and dad, but that's been the thing that I have to, like, in the same way, kind of go, I hear what they're saying, and I want to educate myself on the views and thoughts and opinions of others, but at the same time, what I'm feeling holds precedence, and I won't have any connection to this work if I just make it to be liked, essentially. I won't feel connected in the way that hurts, and I won't feel connected in the way that feels good. If God forbid I did something to be liked, and then people didn't like it, I'd be a little lost. What was important to me was that the three of us connected, and that we were all on the same page, and that we all loved what we were doing. And outside of that, I've gotten little feisty comments here and there, and it's just,
depends, I guess, on your ambitions, because a publicist once told me that you can do this, you can go in that route, you can expose yourself to the world, and you will make money from it, or you can keep yourself to yourself and potentially live a lot happier life. Because once you give it away, once you open the door, you can't shut it. And I'm particular. I mean, apart from this group here, this quite little tiny group that I would talk to for 4 hours a week, every week for COVID. At least it felt like that. The wider public do not get to feed off my bones. You know, I am not going to let them do that and keep providing for them in some way, which will make sure that I'm poorer. And that's another choice, you know. Do you want to go that direction, or do you want to go, because it's a genie, and once it's out of the bottle, people need to know more about you, and then they start making up because they haven't been given their, you know, full quota. I think I've seen that in acting. I think I've seen people who commit to that, young actors who are working really hard to get their quota, their numbers up, their likes, their views, whatever it is, friends. I don't know what the balance is. And they're not happy because they're obsessed with getting the numbers up and the friends and the thing. And so everything is through the prism of, can I post this? Can I make something of this? So you're constantly in journalism mode, self-journalistic mode. So that's what I think. And that the publicist was pretty good advice. And that was before the internet. That was back in the 90s when she was just saying, we can get you, you know, opening stores and, you know, blessing children or whatever celebrities used to do. But that's that sort of stuff.
That's very nice to say, and also great advice. And I think that's a balance I'm being confronted with. And so far, I've been able to do a lot of stuff on a heart-based decision, and that has given me great power in my personal self, just in how I feel and the maturity I feel like I've gained this past year on this journey. My instinct is to make a more beautiful album than the last, and to work on that, and even occasionally to film something and to put it up, and so I'm kind of trusting that sort of natural.
Good. That's where you should stay. Be there.
I think Rose has a question for you.
Rose is something of a scholar of music too.
So how much did Sid's classical music interests influence your musical taste at all?
Yeah, I think very much. Yeah, growing up in a house, at least partially, where there's a library, I won't say library, there's a full bookshelf of all of my grandfather's classical records lined up, all the Bach and Beethoven, and, you know, and that kind of brought me to a place where in high school or college, excuse me, I felt really driven to go see this Bach fugue thing every morning at a church when the organist practices, and that was kind of my like Friday ritual before class started. And I'm sure that I know that kind of found its way into what's happening, at least in some way. Those special moments, I would say this in any context, those drives and those moments as a teenager, listening to the iPod independently as well. That's kind of all I've got, you know, that like that's been my my North Star, and what I've been driven to assemble.
Yeah. You're listening to something crazy and loud and brash, like, you know, I don't know, Zombie or whatever it would be. And then suddenly you've got like one of Strauss's four last songs. Oh gosh, 60 to 100 hours of classical music on that iPod that I gave Django. So
Yes.
it would, and unfortunately on shuffle, it just takes a movement plucks it out of midair and just slams it in front of you.
Right.
You're not hearing the whole thing from the beginning.
An
I just thought
immersive
of-
music education.
Indeed.
Just a really eclectic special collection that he put together that kind of gave me a leg up on you know, I was talking to people as a 12-year-old about how special Radiohead was, and I'm sure that that's not a unique experience, but it made me feel special in a world of radio top 40, you know. I got it all. I had it all. I'm very fortunate for my father and his music taste.
Thank you.
Hey, Christy's got a question.
How did you get yourself to a point where you could write music, not just not just lyrics, but your actual tunes, because they're quite advanced.
I wrote a lot as a teenager and in my early 20s, thinking that novels and screenplays and such, thinking that that was going to be my jam. So I clocked a lot of hours in writing, and then entering into the music world. I was fortunate to have a lot of musician friends, and I would show them kind of my first attempts, and they'd be like, kind of needs a chorus, you know, or like try tuning the guitar, like little things that help me learn structure. I'd say that the combination of loving writing, like truly loving the act of writing and journaling, is very therapeutic, and then kind of also secondhand knowledge of structure became the sweet spot, or at least where I'm at now.
Nice question. Chrissy was she was onto something that I don't think you quite answered. I'd like to get you press you a bit more on that. Is how did you get from simple, like playing dung 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 to really like stretching musical ideas and really inverting them? Is that because of the last 2 years? Would you say that it was 6 months ago you were pretty primitive, or have you always, because writing music is not easy. Obviously there's a whole theoretical side which you can get computers to help you with nowadays, and you can push a button and it'll show you the note on a stave, and you can push it for longer and it'll show it a different kind of note. So what is that process of getting to this point? Because you can't go in front of a bunch of really cool musicians and go, I don't know how to do this.
And just to piggyback off, but just to say, I mean, I'm 42. I took violin for 2 years when I was a kid. I took music theory in high school, and I'm just in the last couple of years got back into playing the violin, and I'm starting to work on that music theory and re-scoring some songs, rearranging some stuff. And what you did is so much more advanced than what I can do. And I know I struggled back when I was really good at music. So I'm really impressed with what you were able to do just in that one song. And that's where I'm really fascinated by how you got that good, what you did.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Hours and hours is what it took.
I think, yeah, well, that was a lot of it, little engine that could, and not achieving and not achieving and not achieving. And then finally, after, I'd say this last 2 years have been sort of a boot camp for me, because I realized that there was so much that I needed to learn. I'm not coming from 0-0. I played piano and I played in jazz bands as a kid too. So I have some background, but a lot of it was forgotten by the time that I picked up a guitar. And I would just say with like melodies and stuff, the moment I stopped trying and started listening, and allowing something to come out instead of forcing it to come out, that combined with being vulnerable. There was a time when I was going to the park so I could try and sing and do like a method acting sort of thing while I played guitar, and putting myself in some kind of cool scenario, and just anything to make it work. And none of those provided any fruit for me. And all it did was, I'd say, like finding some meditative practice, trusting myself, slowing down a lot, and then treating that moment that I start to play as something sacred. Because a lot of the album doesn't have like loops or anything, which puts a lot of the mistakes there, but also the mistakes ended up making it unique. And when I'm open to being seen and judged and critiqued, then I would say that that's the thing that I can look back on and be proud of, and go, it's the same melody that I practiced prior, with my hair in a bun or something, and a dress jacket on. But that melody didn't work or function because I was trying so hard to make it connect. And when I let go, the melody became something different, and it became something at least that I could connect to. And because what I see now is, oh, I was open, and I'm not often open in life, and so I'm proud of that. Spiritually, more than musically, I'd say I think that's my best answer to that.
There's a phrase we have in acting which kind of encapsulates, well, I have in acting, which kind of encapsulates what that is. And that is what, in terms of trying too hard and letting it arrive. And there's a big difference between placing something and finding something. And you always want to find it. You always want to just stumble across something beautiful. You don't want to place it there cynically and then close your eyes for a few seconds. I found it, everyone, I found it. That's that in acting, you can always tell when an actor has placed a performance and when they're finding it, and it's the joy is finding it because it's a discovery that the audience experience with you. And your songs are very found. I get the sense that we're on a journey with you, and that's really cool. That's really cool.
Very nice.
Hell with whatever anybody thinks I should be doing. This is what I'm doing, guys. So come along or do something else. There's plenty of stuff to do, which is a great choice to give people.
The statue exists in the block of marble, and your job is just to let it out, and that's been really helpful for me. And
that was Einstein. That's rubbish. Actually, it wasn't Einstein. Just joking.
Yeah, TikTok.
Statue exists in the marble. Yeah, that's is there anybody else who's got a question before
There's a lot. Let's get Rob Moriarty in here.
Rob Moriarty, as I live and breathe.
Hi, Django. I've got a question for you. So I'm also from a music background. So I basically lived in a Pro Tools studio for most of my time at university. And I've kind of gone the other way to you, in that I've kind of gone from being a musician to doing more video editing.
You are an exceptional editor as well, I have to tell you.
Thank you. But my question for you is, I think my constant across all of those years that I've been doing editing is that whether it's playing, singing, or watching, particularly myself in a video, I absolutely cannot stand the sound of my own voice. So I realized, what have other people been having to listen to for God knows how many years? So I suppose my question in a roundabout way to you is, do you actually like the sound of your own voice, or do you have a way of kind of divorcing yourself from it or letting go to kind of stop yourself from being hypercritical because otherwise you can literally edit to the nth degree when you're probably already doing that anyway when it's your own stuff?
That's a great question. I don't think I could say I like the sound of my own voice, but I like the songs. I think it's more like less the quality that I enjoy and more going back to even the last question, just like feeling like, oh, I'm proud of myself for getting to that place and having that take, and that take feels right. And sometimes I'd have that view and then show someone and they'd be like, oh no, pitchy. And okay, that's worth fixing.
What does pitchy mean?
Pitchy, flat, like
okay.
I missed the note, or something like that. There's still some of that, but
everyone.
I've smoothed a lot of that out. I would say that coming from acting a little bit, it's not like, did I have the right timbre in my voice? It was I in the right place to sing that? And if I was, it connects into place, and I can look past it, I'd say.
Theo and Zoe, we're going to jump to you because I know we've got some musicians here.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Hey.
You played your first live act for our first live act was you guys. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here today to meet.
Oh my gosh.
I've actually seen it. It was really wonderful.
Yeah.
I loved your song so much. And it's been such a pleasure just to hear you guys talk about creativity. My question is, because you were talking about how there was, like, it sounds like you kind of just picked up the guitar out of nowhere. Like you had this feeling that you had to do that. And I want to know more about that moment, because was there any music or art that was inspiring you to do that? Or was there like something going on in your life? I want to know more about that moment.
Oh, yeah. There was a moment I remember distinctly with my friend. We were sitting in a park, and I was kind of like on the like I had a guitar with me at the park, and I didn't know how to play it at all, and I was in that really obnoxious camp of the world where you're kind of really terribly bringing a guitar to a park, kind of as more of an accessory than anything else.
I've been bringing a loudspeaker, I think.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. But I was again still the same kind of nervous me, and not just kind of very quietly. It was more just to look at, more a signifier at that point. But in speaking with my friend, I felt so connected to the moment, and I felt really connected to the feeling of sharing music, even rudimentary music, and it's corny, but I guess being like a vessel for it, like I felt purpose, and I struggled with that for a long period of my life to connect to something, and to feel like there was something that I was supposed to be doing. So that alongside it's an amalgamation of moments like there, I was always drawn to musician friends. I found I connected really openly with musicians, and if there's a brain thing going on, or a personality trait that aligns with creativity, but I just didn't think that there was space for me in the world, because I had so much to learn. I guess that sense of being in the park and feeling the purpose from it made me think it's worth not knowing what I'm doing. It's worth falling flat. It's worth all the judgment that's going to come. It ended up being a very challenging life transition at sometimes, just because it was a real 180 and people were confused about
Really,
why.
what's really brave, Django, I'm sorry to interrupt you, is you had come out as an actor. You had told the world that you were an actor, and you bravely told your dad and your mom and all the people who will judge you and go, I told you, acting is a difficult thing to come out as, by the way, because it's very hard to make money, to make a living. So parents immediately worry.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. And you moved to Los Angeles, and I could help you with that. I found you an agent. We got all the stuff that the trappings. And no sooner had you started that, then you just went, no, I'm not doing that. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm changing, because that happened a year and a half into it. That you built it up, and you had to convince yourself, and you went to the gym, and you did all the disgusting things that actors have to do. And you beefed up, by the way, I don't know how you did that. You turned into a kind of Michelin man.
A dark period in my life. Yeah. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was unnatural. And I was trying to be something that I wasn't, frankly. And I wouldn't, like, I'd say if I was being critical, I have a very obsessive mind. Certainly in the acting days, I wanted to work it. I wanted to work every day. And when you're an actor, there's not much you can do between jobs. So I would just try to change myself, or mess with my personality or my DNA, or I don't know what, but try to become the perfect actor. And I felt lost, and I felt disconnected. And then comes music, and the same instinct. I can put it on the paper. I can put it on the page. I can put it all in the software, and I get to be myself, because that part of my brain is preoccupied. So yeah, all those things together, I feel fantastic. I feel really healthy, and I am really grateful for music and all these different things in life. But music maybe isn't the culprit, but is a really healthy addition to me managing my emotions and my mental health, and all that stuff.
Beautiful.
Steffi's question.
I suppose when it comes to your music, would you be interested in making a music video for one of your songs? But when you mentioned how you used to do acting and how it didn't feel natural to you, well, I suppose I'm going to assume you would use different actors and not yourself.
We've actually done a music video for another song that came out called Wolves. So that you could look that up, and I am featured in that. And I edited that one too. It's still kind of hard. I have to bite the bullet a little bit when I don't know, cameras make me really shy. But it was fun, and it was a lot of, if it's casual, and if I can avoid having a crew there, and I just remember being an actor or whatever, and having to get in front of a camera while they put a reflector in my eye, and I can't keep my eyes open, and I'm very sensitive to light or something, so I would just be really squinty, and there's a couple of shorts with me and I'm squinting the whole time, so those are negative associations for me, because
they're very hard to do, when you sit there for 20 minutes while the camera gets its focus organized, the people mill around, they put things in your eyes, they turn, and the director says, "Ow, action, make love."
Yes. It's a skill, though. It's a skill. You must have some slightly different eyes or something.
Yes, I do.
Because you can, I've seen you do it. It's really magical. But
it's a good tip. You keep your eyes open long enough, you will start to weep without blinking. And so if you need to weep, I just keep my eyes open a long time, and then I'm like, ready to weep now.
Thank you.
Okay, Jen Stanley.
Hey,
Jen.
I just have a very quick question, because you mentioned Spotify a bunch. Will it also come out on iTunes, the album?
Yes. So it comes out at like 20 different places at once, including iTunes and Tidal and all that stuff. For some reason, Spotify is where a lot of the listens come from these days.
Okay.
I don't really understand. Like 10 to 1. Spotify 1 is everything else, which is wild. But yeah, iTunes is great, and iTunes even gives people an opportunity to actually purchase the song, which is helpful. But yeah, it'll be on Apple Music and Tidal and Deezer.
Okay, so all the same day?
Yes, on the 11th. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, Dana.
Sorry, maybe a silly question, but since we heard you were in Prague, we wanted to ask, since Prague is known as a city that inspired so many artists, so if it inspired you in some way.
Yes. So I don't know exactly. I couldn't put a pinpoint on what it was, but when I went, we were visiting Daddy, me and my girlfriend. We went, and I was 6 demos in, or 7 demos in, very different songs to the songs I'm releasing, but the same, but just not ironed out. And we all listened, I think, on headphones, outside, looking at a sunset, on that park. It's a gigantic park with beautiful museums and a couple beer gardens in it. It's on top of a hill.
Okay, should be Berlin probably.
Yeah. I believe so. And that's where I got the first notes from my dad on what needed to happen. And that's the first time I got to hear the music objectively, was overlooking that beautiful city, and then digesting those notes over lovely breakfasts. And yeah, I mean, the company played a huge part in it, but I think also just having the beautiful opportunity of reflecting on this stuff in such a special place, instead of in my car and idling in the parking space. I like to think that all of it played a part, but Prague happened at a very critical, special moment.
That's great to hear. So hope you come again.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Let's see, Tabitha, what's your question?
So I'm involved with an independent film. It's like my city's film alliance. What would it take to get permission to use your music in a soundtrack in an indie film, or probably a short or something like that?
I would say,
or is that something you've even considered?
I haven't considered it. So I'm gonna I want to say granted, but I'd say email me or reach out on Instagram. But that would be an honor. And yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that more.
Awesome.
Thank you for having that idea.
Okay, Lou?
So my question is there something that you sort of started working on that didn't work out that you really, in particularly feel you really like it and you're really sad that it didn't make it? And if so, what is it?
In music or in music?
In music.
I'd say that all the first song there were the beginning of my journey was like very tunnel vision. I had one song that I really wanted to work on that had a really chaotic energy to it. But something in me kept trying at it. And I did that one song, working on it, just little touches for like 6 or 7 months. And at no point was it good. At no point did I like it. But I think I learned a lot. So I'm kind of happy that's not seeing the light of day. But then after that, there were a couple things that I was writing or demoing, I guess is a term. They just didn't fully connect. And I look back at them now as I'm thinking about what songs to put into the next project. And I go, oh, there's some cool ideas there. I just maybe didn't have the technical ability to follow them through. So I think a lot of them are going to end up being reinterpreted. My girlfriend still sometimes kind of like sings some of the lyrics from those early songs to my horror, but she does because she likes them.
That's
so
a clue. That's a clue. Absolute clue.
Yeah, so it's worth revisiting in due time, and I'm a little more proficient now, so I can see. It's all an experiment.
It'll get there. It might take 10 years, but it'll get there.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have any hallelujah type songs yet. I don't have any 7-year journey songs yet.
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 Thanks for that question, Lou. Amy Doodles.
Are you going on tour, and are you excited for that kind of travel? Because golly, that's like everyday travel for months and months on end. And and then I don't know if this is what I should be asking, but can you send me a postcard when you go traveling? Because I have this really amazing postcard collection, and I just love adding to it.
I will write down a note to send you a postcard. At some point, I would love to do a tour. There's a lot of steps to get there. We've got to play a bunch of local shows. We have to get the attention of some booking agents. And booking agents have to connect us with the right people. Probably, if I'm being ambitious, this year we can get a support tour. But I like to think we have something that we're really proud of, and we're excited to get it out there. So yeah, it's a dream. I think it sounds really difficult. It sounds like me and the people that I play with, I have a feeling I'm going to get on their nerves, and vice versa, because budget will probably allow us a Scion or something like that to go around. We're all in the same boat of being quite ambitious and a dreamer mentality, and the dream of sharing your music includes the challenge of the road.
One really like kind of fun thing about touring, I don't know at what point in success you get to have a writer where you get to like say, I want green M&Ms and 4 tacos.
Yes.
In that room, and the water must be Dasani or whatever. So that will be fun. You get to like do that. That will be like the fun, silly part of it.
Django's already there, Amy. He can do that, but he just has to sneak in before anybody else and place the M&Ms himself.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
The M&M hunts after each show.
Then he can throw a fit. It's like, these are orange.
Yeah.
Ambitiously, I've already put thought into it, and the only thing I know about for sure is there's these non-alcoholic IPA beers that I really love, and they calm me down for some reason. So that would be my thing.
Thanks, Amy. Django, thank you so much for joining us for this. I know I told you maybe 30 minutes.
What a treat. Special, what fun questions. Thank you everyone for indulging me and letting me speak about this stuff. And Daddy, it's so nice to catch up. And I also saw Colin a little bit earlier.
Yeah, Colin's around.
I'm still here.
There he is. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of the call. And
thank you, Django. I'm so proud of you, beautiful boy.
Thanks, man. I'm always proud of you. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Django.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.